Lilith fails as a character. At the moment, I'm not interested in her. 2 seasons in, and I honestly find her to be very boring, even though the show tries really hard to up the intrigue on her by referencing her a lot, but never in a way that actually feels concrete or signaling anything on who she is as a person and what she's actually like. For 2 seasons, she's been teased as a character and as someone we're supposed to be invested in, but honestly, I couldn't be more disinterested. And it seems like other people are too, other YouTubers, in some of the criticisms I've watched. A lot of people have noted that the show hasn't really done anything, and it's been 2 seasons of the same thing so far. 2 seasons of what I think is supposed to be a 5-season show. 2/5, and all we have is the same information being repeated. At the end of the first season, Lilith was teased as having been in heaven and sitting in a chair doing nothing by the beach, and there was mystery there on why the hell Lute, of all people, was going to visit her. She retreated back to heaven after the Exorcist's defeat and Adam's death, and Lute, presuming fairly reasonable control of the Exorcist army as Adam's number 2, his right-hand man, seeks out Lilith to demand and all but threaten her to do something about her daughter. Lilith looks mildly irritated or serious, and that's it. Then in season 2, we see she is doing the exact same thing. Sitting in a chair, doing nothing, with maybe just the added confirmation that she is, indeed, willfully and actively ignoring her family, who have called her so much in the 7-year absence established in episode 1 of the show. Woot sends her an incredibly vague message saying she's off the hook, perhaps relating to the big trial that was had regarding Serpentius' newly redeemed status, but it literally means nothing to me and provides no new information. Last season established that Lute and Lilith have some sort of connection, strongly implied to be a sort of under-the-table deal for unknown reasons, with entirely unclear meaning, and season 2 shows the exact same thing. Actually, it was less than that. It was another way Lute was being built up to have her revenge arc, but then sidestepped in favor of Abel being made head of the Exorcist army. Lilith, I think, is still literally at the same beach from both the end of season 1 and season 2. Like you can see there's a part of it that looks like sand beyond the foliage and the little seated area she's at. She has no speaking lines, and we don't see her face beyond her mouth, perhaps mildly frowning. And the only other time we see her at all is in the flashback in season 1 during More Than Anything, when she inexplicably takes a young Charlie away from Lucifer, her face and eyes covered in shadow. The show goes really, really hard in making Lilith as mysterious and ambiguous as possible, and it kind of just bores me. If I don't know anything about her, her personality, or her motivations, why should I care? She refused Adam, the first man, who apparently wanted to control her, and I guess he gained his wish anyway when it came to him and the Exorcist. Oof. Lilith found interest in Lucifer, the serpent, and ended up falling and being cast down into the newly created hell once he brought evil into the world by giving Eve the apple. She brought the newly formed sinners of hell together through the power of her song, empowering them, but then, presumably, the exterminations happened and she went off back to heaven. Something that's been boggling my mind in season 2 is both Vox and Charlie stating that Lilith protested against heaven. Vox states and uses her image for purposes of war, an uprising of some kind, and Charlie refutes that vehemently by stating Lilith did peaceful protests that didn't involve any blood. But that was before the exterminations ever took place? Her people weren't being slaughtered. They weren't being murdered permanently, so what was she even protesting? I legitimately don't understand, and the show is so desperate to not say a single word about her characterization, her real and true self, probably because the second they said anything, the second she spoke a single word, it would be immediately clear what kind of character she is, because this is the Hellverse, and there is no subtlety or nuance to be found here. As much as I love the show, particularly Boss, they absolutely love playing their cards immediately on what their characters are, even the villains and the antagonists. Stryker, Stella, Andre Alphys, Agents 1 and 2, Valentino, Vox, maybe not Velvet, honestly. But even Stella's, more nuanced than most, originally much more antagonistic and classist than the first real episode of the show, is shown in episode 2 what the rest of his character's main relationships and facets are about. His degrading dog-water relationship with Stella, his wife, and his increasingly strained relationship with his daughter, Octavia, due to his affair with Blitz. It all gets laid out on the table fast and immediately. Stryker is an assassin, an antagonist to IMP in all his appearances, and shown to have contempt for royalty and the upper class. Stella actively hates Stolas in all of her appearances, as well as ignores her daughter. Agents 1 and 2 are incompetent buffoons seeking to go against demons and paranormal creatures, and Andre Elphys is power-hungry, scheming, posh, and vain. Their characters flash on screen hard, clear and strong, which makes Lilith's characterization, or lack thereof, stand out, but almost in a grating way. The show, by all accounts, is pointing towards Lilith being an antagonist in her narrative framing. Shadowed eyes, blatantly ignoring her husband and daughter who deeply miss her, care for her and love her, and never gave up on her even after zero contact for 7 entire years, almost 8, sitting peacefully in heaven while her family stresses about war, redemption, or suffer from depression. But for all I know, the show could end up making Lilith sympathetic, and have a reason for her doing all of this. And I kind of hope they don't go that route, if only because the narrative has strongly pointed in the opposite direction. But even still, it's all speculation anyways, but not in a fun way. It honestly almost feels like Hazbin Hotel wants to pull a Rose Quartz with her. Rose was seen as a rebellious, inspiring leader by the Crystal Gems, absolutely beloved by them for her heart and conviction, and over the course of the show, more and more moral ambiguity is revealed, and the facade and image she carefully tailored breaks in reverse to her character development. She's discovered to have seemingly shattered Pink Diamond, kept Bismuth bubbled and walked away for wanting to use the same tactics her leader supposedly used for decisive and honestly justifiable victory. She told Pearl to lie about her true identity as Pink Diamond. She abandoned Spinel, perhaps unknowingly, for millennia, and she lashed out and permanently damaged and hurt her old Pearl in a fit of misdirected anger. Rose goes from someone being seen as a shining beacon of hope to look up to, one who defended the planet Earth, a rebel against the oppressive Diamonds who encouraged those following her to be their own people, to being discovered as someone immensely flawed and morally gray, having kept her Pearl around despite intense feelings of love, devotion, and loyalty, and the hurt it caused when she chose Greg over her, along with having Steven. Taking aside the entirety of the show, in Season 1 alone of Steven Universe, it's clearly established that the Crystal Gems think fondly of Rose. In Season 1 of Hazbin, we get the creation story of Hell, Charlie claiming she's continuing her dream, but she wasn't trying to redeem sinners. Charlie is the first person to do that. Ugh, I'm realizing how much this falls apart under scrutiny in real time. And she says she'll make her mom proud, along with noting she's been gone. That's literally all we hear about her in the entirety of Season 1 from Charlie. We have no idea how the rest of Hell actually feels about her. Fox uses her name to boost himself up and gain more favor, even naming his super weapon laser after her. But I actually have no idea if the denizens of Hell are even receptive to him invoking her name. They were kind of just vibing with what he said anyways, doing whatever he can to get them on board with following him, and then tailoring his speech and claims to specific groups' wants and desires. It takes until Season 2 for Lucifer and Charlie to have an actual conversation about her. Charlie, for some reason, seeming to absolutely idolize Lilith, and Lucifer deeply missing her. But considering how the show can be both incredibly biased towards characters' points of view...
When have I ever hit him? You're obsessed with me.
And Charlie being an incredibly unreliable and unlikable protagonist this season, I'm honestly inclined to doubt their affections are actually true to Lilith's character. Charlie is the same person who told Husk her dad only called when he was bored or needed her to do something after Lilith left, and we see and hear him state blatantly that he's been depressed since she left, and jumps immediately at the chance to visit Charlie when she asks for his help. He does everything he can immediately, partially in an incredibly confusing competition with Alistair to prove himself better and more reliable, and literally continues to do so for the rest of the season into Season 2. Where Charlie snaps on him for trying to help, even though that whole thing was botched to hell and back, even without his interference, while also actively trying something different than the completely useless yelling at the media she was doing. Like, what the fuck, Charlie? Lucifer claims he's still married, only to be uncertain if it's even true, because, she's been gone for 7 years. The show makes me feel like Charlie and Lucifer look at Lilith through rose-tinted glasses. So if even they are wrong about Lilith being a loving mother and wife, having ever been one, and the show refuses to make it clear on whether Lilith was actively seeking to fight heaven or peacefully protesting something, I have no idea how am I supposed to be invested in Lilith as a character, to see what she does, when we got 2 seasons of the exact same shot essentially, only calling Charlie back at the very last second of the season after Vox blew the gates off heaven, and Emily and Charlie helped kick off stopping the bomb through MLP Power of Friendship song. There's a reason ambiguous characters can make for some of the coolest and most enjoyable ones in fiction, the kind that keep you on your toes. The ones whose motives you're never sure of, or even if you do know their character, they can be torn between 2 decisions, such as cowardice and power, or love and happiness, like Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time, leaving you wondering what decision they'll make in the end. But to do that, a baseline needs to be established first. You need to have some idea of what the character is like, even if it is a facade at first, like Hannibal, or their intentions are kept vague, Toffee in Star vs. the Forces of Evil, or Bellows in The Owl House. But Lilith has none of that, and for now, coming off of Season 2, the vagueness and complete lack of character is something I find annoying more than intriguing. It's about as engaging as Alistair talking to Rosie, mentioning she told him to do something 7 years ago, and then immediately cramming it under the rug, never to be mentioned again. 7 years, it just tells me she wanted him to do something, with literally no implication on whether it is good or bad. Whether the idea interested Alistair himself at all initially, nothing. It's just information with 0 character implications we didn't already know, and we won't hear about it until at least another season. Riveting, right? I know Season 3 is meant to be the Morningstar arc and we'll finally get answers, but woof, that's like 50% of the show it took to get here, or 40%? If Vivzie gets that 5th season she wants. For a character that's meant to have weight, but literally no one in the entire cast cares about her, only Vox who uses her name to his own advantage, and Charlie and Lucifer who miss her. No one in the hotel seems to even know who she is. Angel Dust, Nifty, Husk, Baxter, Alistair, Vaggie, Cherry Bomb? They have absolutely no opinions on her. Her name has never left any of the other characters' lips. Yet she is meant to be revered in hell. It's all very strange. She's only mentioned once by Carmilla, only to note that she isn't even around anymore and is irrelevant. Anyway, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed this random video that I realized I had way more to say about than I expected. My video recommendations are at the end.